Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in our local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest. Well, hey, welcome back to another episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, and I'm joined by a couple today. Probably needs no introduction if you're in Russell County, but Kim and Bill Watson, thanks so much for joining today to be able to share a little bit of the story of Be My Honey Bee with that. So I first kind of got exposed to you guys with the honey earlier this year, but it's not new to you. You've been around it for a while. So Kim, maybe share a little bit as far as how long have you guys been around with honey production and bees?
I guess actually with our honey and the honeybees and everything has been about a year and a half ago. Bill came to me one day and he's like, I want us to get some bees. And I'm like, no way. We don't have time for that. And, he just said, well, let's try it. And I'm like, I don't even like honey. So he goes, gets how many hives? We get several hives and brings them home, and then when it's time to take the honey off, then I'm like, okay, I'll help you do that, which he got me a suit, and we worked in the bees, and then when we started uncapping and spinning the honey, and I just took my finger, ran down the frame, and he's like, well, just take a bite. And immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This isn't the
same as like going to the grocery store and getting the honey. This is way different.
Yes, I'm like, this is no honey that I've ever tasted before. I'm like, it's delicious. And we just kind of we did a cut comb, took the honeycomb out, and we sat there and ate it. And then we started watching videos and I guess learning about all the benefits of honey. And it just kind of took off from there.
Snowballed from there. We're sitting here in your new shop.
Yes.
With that here on Main Street in Lebanon. And there's all kinds of different things in here, honey related.
Yes.
So it's just interesting to see how much stuff honey can go into. You guys I've seen do everything from creamed honey to jalapeno infused honey.
Yes.
For those that are kind of the heat seekers.
Yes.
Something a little bit different. But let's go back a little bit. Bill, you said that you just decided you wanted to grab some hives. What was it that all of a sudden got you interested that you wanted to have some bees?
Well, it started as a young kid. I always had a healthy respect for honeybees. I know what my parents told me, that how essential they were to humans and to always respect them. And then it actually started about 4 years ago. I just kind of picked up a fascination with them. And her dad raised honeybees, and I watched one of his hives for a little while and just became even more fascinated. So I just wanted a hive, not for the honey. I just wanted to be close to them and kind of learn about them. So he brought a hive over, and I worked my way out from the outside in to where they would trust me and without being stung, and it grew to, they trusted me. I would feed them sugar water and stuff and get right there at the entrance and never get stung. So that kind of kicked it off, and then I just decided that I was going to get more hives, and it all started about 4 years ago, and then I don't know, a couple of years ago, something like that, took on 4 hives, and that's when we started spinning it. And got to getting into it, and I really don't know how to explain it. It's just something that part of your life that you kind of answered a call that you feel led to. And I looked at her after that, and she looked at me one day. She said, "Why, honey?" And I looked at her and I said, "Because honey's money." And once we started taking it off, we was just giving it away to people, and next thing you know, we're out. And I seen such a market for it. And the more I learned about bees, the more interested I become. The more you know about them, what a delicate balance they live in, and what an order a hive has based on the queen. It's just fascinating to learn. And then when you start looking at the health benefits, more so than the taste profile of it, the health benefits far outweigh anything. You know, honeybee doesn't waste anything, and everything they make has a purpose, you know, down to the skincare products, to the honey and the honey infusion stuff, and, you know, different taste profiles for people. So it's just kind of took off, and we're really enjoying it.
Now, you see sometimes with honey, there's different shades. That
Yes.
if you go and you see sometimes, and even just here on the shelf, that we've got you know, a bear that's a little bit lighter color here. We've got this that's a little bit more ambered. What's the difference between? Is that the difference from one hive to another, or is it different from what food they ate?
It's all about the pollination and the nectars that's available to them. And a lot of times, if you don't switch out the foundation in a hive and it becomes brown from years, it will kind of tint the honey. So if you put new foundation in, they build new wax, then you're going to get a little lighter color. But there's certain pollens and things that the bees go after that changes the taste profile along with the color of the honey. We've had hives that you go in deep into it, you'll have two supers on it, and the super below will be like really light or dark. It's just according to where those bees went. And then the next super above it be a total different color. So it's different pollinizations that they go to.
Now, with hives, do you keep them kind of regionalized, that everything is in one area, or have you spread those around the county? How do you guys draw your honey now?
All of our hives are at home. They're all located in one area. So all the hives that we have, the honey and everything, is more of a wildflower, because we don't, well, not yet, not at this time. We haven't started spreading out, but yeah, everything at home is just localized into one area.
A bee will travel like 2.5 mile radius, and you can have several hives per half acre. But once you grow to 50 and above hives, they start competing. They start starving for certain nectar. So you kind of got to break it down. As long as you go outside that 2.5 mile radius that they're operating out of, then you can put them anywhere. But there's a lot of things that come into play with that. There's a lot of predators that can get in them. Bears destroy the hives. They eat the honey. They eat the brood, and all the larvae for the proteins and stuff. And they'll destroy a hive. And then skunks get in them, and they reach in and grab handfuls of bees and eat them. And there's just so many things out there that
got something else to hate a skunk for now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're surviving too.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but when I'm not doing amazing interviews like what you're listening to or watching right now on YouTube, I'm working with people every single day to help improve their financial lives. You know, a lot of people come to me with questions about how can they retire on time, when should they take Social Security, or just are they on track in general with their finances. Down below in the show notes, you'll find information to be able to help see how you're tracking towards retirement with our 90-second retirement readiness quiz. Or maybe you're just wanting to see what can you do to get on track, whether that's paying down debt, student loans, or just trying to figure out, am I making the right decisions every single day? Well, if that's you, click down below so that you can utilize those resources and improve your own financial journey. Now, back to the show. So, there's all these different sizes of honeys that you have available, but how many bees does it take to be able to produce a run on one of these hives to make all of the honey that you see?
Well, typically, it's according to the season too, and what's pollinating. If you get a cold snap during the bloom of things like your fruit trees and things like that, you take a cold spell and it kills the bloom. Well, that's certainly going to affect them. So, if you have an early spring and it stays warm and everything flourishes, and the bees are going to also. So, you just kind of got to watch what's going on and try to, do things. But typically, your hive, you could produce, an easy 5 gallons of honey off of each hive a year, and that's kind of the average. And if you have a really bonus year where you have an earlier spring and a longer fall, and you didn't have that cold snap, and there's plenty of nectar out there, then it can almost double.
Now, I'm sure it's not just as easy as you show up, you set the hive up, and then you wait, and then you pull off 5 gallons later that year, right?
It would be nice to be that easy.
There's a tremendous amount of work goes in it, and you're working in temperatures that's 90 degrees and above. You're going in and inspecting your bees. You're checking your queen, make sure she's healthy and producing, the eggs for the next generation of bees. And you have to clean hives. You have to take the bird comb off, and you have to, overall the health of it. There's a lot of things that go into it. You have tracheomites. You have varroa mites that can infect the hive, that can kill it, and you have foul brood that can affect the entire colony and kill them out. Bees are wild creatures, and they may be in a hive one day, and you put them in, you catch a swarm, and you come back out 2 days later, and they're moved out. They just left on you. So there's no control of it, and there's a lot of expense that goes into it. So it's kind of it's a risk. It's a big risk, because if you go buy packaged bees, it'll take 2-3 pound packages, and they average anywhere from $150 to $250 per 3 pound package. So, and that's one hive times 2.
Mm-hmm.
So an average hive will wind up costing you anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
Yeah, and I know there's some resources out there to help people get started off if you're looking to be able to have a hive, but there's no guarantee that you're going to have anything out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all the work that it sounds like that's going into it along the way that's going to give you product on the back end to actually enjoy.
Right.
Now, Bill, before we got started, you were mentioning, like a lot of us, 2020, we had COVID that came through. And unfortunately for a lot of people, it wound up meaning that you got COVID.
Yeah.
But when that, for you had a unique experience that honey kind of stepped in and helped you out. And we're not saying that it's going to solve everything for everybody else, but we are saying that there's some unique properties here that exist with it. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, January 2020, the entire family got hit with COVID. It ran through us, and I had a pretty good case of it. I was pretty sick with it, and I never really liked hot drinks, coffee, and things of that nature. Always more of a cold drink type of person. So one evening I just kind of started craving hot tea, and I didn't have any taste or smell, felt terrible, very congested, short of breath. So I went and boiled some water on the stove. I put a Lipton tea bag in it and poured it up into a coffee mug and started sipping on it, and no taste, no smell. So I don't like to eat a lot of granulated sugars, so I remembered her dad had gave me a quart of honey that he typically would every year. So I went to the pantry, pulled that honey jar out, and I basically just poured honey in it. And I was determined that I was going to figure out a way to where I could get my taste and smell back. So when I put the honey in it, I probably put 6 tablespoons of honey in it.
Is it okay?
And
Sorry.
when by the time I finished that mug of tea, I could taste honey and I could smell it. And the next day, it seemed like my COVID symptoms reversed. Now, why, I don't know. But I can tell you, it did work.
Yeah, it's amazing when you meet some people that have consistently included honey in their diet. That you hear that it says, okay, have a tablespoon of local raw honey every single day to help out with asthma, respiratory issues, allergies. So it's when you can have that, all of your is produced right here in Russell County. If you're in Russell County, it gives you an option to be able to have local resources that are going to potentially help you out. I'm not saying it's going to cure your allergies if you're out there. We're just saying that it might help
It might help. And also another thing is I was having hot flashes, and within 4 days of eating our honey, my hot flashes left.
Wow.
I know that sounds crazy, but yes.
There's so much to it, because if you look at it and the more you research, honey is a food that never expires, never spoils. It could be 1,000 years old and still be edible. And you look at it as human beings that 1 teaspoon of honey can sustain human life. If there was nothing left to eat, and you ate 1 teaspoon of honey, it would sustain human life. And it never spoils to us as humans. So I feel like we're in a direct link with the bees. If a honeybees was to get wiped out and become extinct, so shall we. Mm-hmm. The pollination of the world depends on them. And when you don't have a food source, we're all in trouble.
Well, I noticed such a huge difference even with our own personal garden from last year to this year of a drop-off in honeybees. So that's what got me more interested in potentially having a hive, is just the fact of seeing that drop-off with that. And a lot of people will plant certain flowers to kind of have those around your garden to be able to help the bees attract with that. But have you guys heard or seen anything else with that over the last few years as far as a drop-off in the amount of bees?
Well, I know they do a lot of spraying, for herbicides, which really hurts the bees. You've had a lot of aircraft, spraying to kill the thistles and the briars and stuff in meadowfields and things of that nature, which, if a plant gets sprayed when it's in its bloom stage where the bees are going to it, then certainly they're going to be affected by it. There's times of year that you can spray that the bee's not going to go to it. The plant comes up, you have a thistle, it starts, it doesn't have a flower. The bees are not going to visit, the leaves off the thistle. It's after the bloom. So, if you spray that thistle, before the bloom's on, the bees not going to mess with it. They're not going to get in it. But, a lot of the mass spraying and things of that nature, it has made an impact on the bees.
Now, you mentioned as far as the impact that it has on the bees, but just the impact on food in general as far as what's available for people. That if you see that decrease in the bees that are in the area, decrease in the pollinization, then it means less yield for everybody. Crop, everything with that is affected. That this isn't an easy industry to be in, but I would be remiss to say that it's compounded that this also isn't your full-time job. You're both very busy outside of this. How do you balance between what you're doing outside of the honey production and this?
Well, we don't really balance. It's not a balance. We both work full-time jobs, and then when we get off from work, we come out here. We come here, or either if it's something to do with the bees at home, then we're at home doing that. So we kind of, ever since we've been married, we have always had 3 and 4 jobs apiece. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because we stay busy all the time. We rarely have downtime.
When it's something that you can do together, though, as a couple, that it's not independently of that, it's something that brings you together, whether it's, renovating and restoring old homes, whether it's the bees, anything. If you can do that and coexist together and not be at each other, there's something strong that's there to be able to enjoy.
We actually have done that for several years, because we do flip houses as well. Yeah. So we went from working together, and if we can flip a house, we can can work with bees and honey.
Yeah, if you want to test a marriage, go ahead and remodel the house.
That's right, exactly.
It's like working out. The harder you work, the healthier you stay. Your mentality is so much better, and I know it's a lot of hard work, but if you talk to any beekeeper, there's something relaxing about it. Now, it is miserably hot when you got clothes on like I'm wearing, and then you put a bee suit on over top of it, and it's 90 plus degrees. you better be very well hydrated. And there's gonna be some pain inflicted on you because they will sting through the suit. They'll find the weak point and they'll sting you. I like being in the hives. I like being around that, taking the tops off and being around them. She doesn't like that as much as I do. She'd rather be spinning the honey, uncapping it, and jarring it up, putting it in the containers. But I enjoy working in the bees. But I find that the harder you work, the more rewards you have. We've never been one to go home, sit on the couch, watch TV. It's like, let's do something. Let's go somewhere. Let's figure a way to spend our time wisely and take everything you can get out of life.
Now, I did check. There's not clones of them in the back. So all the places that you see them, it's them. They're out there actually doing it. You mentioned being busy and being out and staying active just in everything that you do. What would you say, Kim, for you, what would be the biggest piece of business advice that you got somewhere along the way that's helped you to create these different things that are helping out Russell County?
I guess one of them is just to kind of, have the initiative, want to get out and do that and make sure that you want your business, you want to succeed. And in order to do that, you have to work really hard. Even though that we have a full-time job and we have a farm and a little bit of everything else. You just have to stay motivated and want that.
Definitely, as far as any business owner that's out there, you hit those points where it's kind of that resistance that you had to push through. Mm-hmm. And I had a previous mentor that told me it's kind of like the sound barrier, of going through Mach 1. And then eventually you get to the point where it's Mach 2. And there's always this different level of resistance and different things that are happening that you have to have the desire to push through that, and then it becomes easier on the other side. If there's a lot of resistance when you're getting to that point. If you ever see a plane that's trying to approach to break the sound barrier, and it looks like it's all this shaking and the bolts are going to all fall out, and then all of a sudden you crest over and it's smooth.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But eventually you're going to hit that point of resistance.
You'll get there. That's like, so last year I guess was a little harder than what it's been right now, because once we started with the honey and everything, then everybody was asking us for some. So we kind of started jarring it up, selling it, taking orders, and we didn't have a store. So what we did, pretty much every day, every evening, if I would go to work or if he was at work, we were constantly meeting someone.
You're like a moonshiner, except instead of moonshine, it's jars of honey in the back to go around the county.
Yes. We were in a parking lot everywhere meeting people, and I'm like, oh, they're going to think we're a drug dealer or something here. But, so.
Well, you're giving back to the community.
Yeah.
I mean, it's providing some tremendous health benefits to the community. Mm-hmm. The more you learn, education is everything. If you start something, you put your whole heart into it, and that's what we do. And this started off kind of on a small scale, and now it's kind of took off, and it's hard to manage, but to give back not only to the land, having all these pollinators around to the time that you harvest your honey and you look at the wax that you make all the products from, you're giving back to the community, and it's been a great thing, and met a lot of great people. A lot of people are so interested, they want to get involved in it, and then they'll come over and say, hey, when you roll the bees, I want to come over and I want to watch that process, I want to see how that's done. And when you take a frame of honey and you hold it up and you see that running out, it's something else to watch. You don't have a realism of where it comes from until you see it come out of the hexagons that they build. They're just amazing creatures. How, they're like mathematicians, and just they're amazing creatures.
When you see some of these people that will go out and help an owner of a property out because bees have swarmed and they wind up inside the walls of houses, barns, everything, and they go, I don't need these bees, but they've got to find a home. Yeah. So somebody to be able to go out and help rescue those bees that otherwise might get sprayed, killed, being removed. But you see the immense structure that gets built inside of some of these places when they remove floorboards or wall boards, and all of a sudden you see this intricacy.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing.
It is.
With that. So, Bill, for you, what's been the biggest takeaway for starting this business up with the two of you guys, with other family involved? What's been your biggest takeaway as far as getting that off the ground and getting to this point?
Finding the equipment. It's kind of hard to find because the availability of your products to find for your beehives and things really kind of come out in the spring, and then when it's sold out, then it's one of these things where it's off the shelves, kind of like Christmas at Walmart. After Christmas they take all the Christmas stuff up and you're not going to find anything, and to try to find enough stuff to get to the point where you're at, it's really hard and it's really expensive. You have, when you get to a scale to where you're doing more than just for your home or for a few family members, when you take on more than 2 or 3 hives, the price goes up in your equipment, your spinners and your uncapping tanks, and it's just astronomical the money that you can spend. You can spend $2,000 to $3,000 just on a spinner, and that's hard to overcome. So there's a real huge upfront expense that's involved in it, and finding the things to do it, and then finding the bees. And you're out catching wild swarms. You're catching swarms from your bees that they're breaking up and leaving, and they'll go up in a tree, and you don't have that much time. They may be there 10 minutes and they might be there 2 days. You never know, and if you're not ready for them right then typically you can watch them fly away, and that's lost money. So finding the time to be there. I'd love for them to swarm on the weekend where I've got all the time, because I can work all weekend on it, but it's hard to do something, and I've got people that help me while I'm working, and they'll take care of things, with the swarms and things of that nature. So,
and then one of the things that we're hoping to do, it's just in the planning stage right now, is one, when we started the business, we actually wanted to be able to provide honey year-round to the community instead of like 3 or 4 months out of the year. So we've pretty much met our goal on that. And then another thing is like with the supplies, and like he said, when they're out, the supplies they're gone until the next season. So we plan on growing our business, and hopefully we can provide, get bulk supplies and provide it to the people that's interested in becoming a beekeeper, and giving them, supplies like that at a reasonable cost, and possibly outgrowing this store here. So that's some of the other things, and providing services if people first starting out, they don't have $2,000 to go and spend on an extractor, or $500 to $1,000 on a vaporizer when they have to go and vape the hives and things like that. We want to be able to provide those services to those people, and to do some bee classes and different things like that.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot that's on the horizon.
Yes.
As far as what you're hoping to be able to do. Kim, Bill, thanks so much for joining us on Dream Achievers. It's amazing to hear stories like this from people locally
that have put time and effort into improving not only themselves but the communities around them. And again, it's just exciting to hear. Until next time, this is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, telling you I'll catch you down the road.
This has been an M3 Marketing and Media production.